I've been working on, or showing you a little cosplay thing, how to make EVA foam web shooters. Now these are kind of based more on the original 616 comics, as you can see here, and mixed with the animated series. So these will use mainly Velcro to actually latch it. Now no, these are not painted or anything quite yet, but this is how they look so far. And then what I'm doing is to fully attach these is I'm taking a separate thing of EVA foam that I'm going to heat up and morph. I'm also going to be showing you how to make or emphasize some details without soldering iron. And we're going to be using this as a plate to cover up this, which is how I'm connecting them. So basically what I did was all I got was some spare EVA foam I had. This is another one of the back pieces, but I cut, this one is, because I measured my wrist, and so these are 2 inches or 4 by 2 inches, and this is thin-ish EVA foam. I can't remember what millimeter it is, but I got some of this. These ones are each 4.2 or 4 by 2. For these individual straps, they are also 2 inches, but it is 8.5. So 8.5 by 2. And I made 2 of these, and then these I just free-handed. But it is 8.5 by 1.5 with the core being 1 inch. So this is 1.5, this is 1 inch, this is 8.5, or no, this is 4.5. So, and there's 2 of them, but I'm just gonna be showing you the one that we're using and how I'm gonna attach the magnets. So first things first, I need to go grab my super glue. But what I did here, I wanna walk you through this. What I did here was I got some Velcro. I made a T, just a thin sheet or a thin line going on the edge here, and then I did a patch, not so much on the edge here, so that way it was a little easier to blend in later. And then I took a sticky one. This is like a part that sticks, I'm not taking it off, but then I super glued it after scuffing up the inside here. And I super glued it to the edge of this, so that way when I close it up, pull it close, it'll look more like that. Oops. And then the cover will go over it because it'll be already flush with my wrist. Now at the end of all of this, we're heating this up with the heat gun, so that way it kind of conforms a little bit easier. But first things first, we take that off, and I'm gonna go grab my super glue. Take your super glue, and then you're gonna want a disposable brush. We're also gonna use this elastic later on, but what you're gonna want to do is get a disposable brush, and I just have the magnets I'm using for this are pause this, or yeah, that's the magnet I'm using. And in a sense, I'm doing 2 north magnets on one side, 2 south on the other, and then I'm gonna connect, or I mean, I guess I should probably just do 2 north and 2, or 4 north and 4 south in the end, just so that way it's a lot more even. Because either way, I'm using the same amount of magnets, you know, I mean, yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end. So, pretty much what we're doing is take all your north magnets, okay, separate them so they don't want to just jump together. And then what we're doing is, where did I put the thing? So I took my knife and I made 4 identical holes. Well, identical. And then what we're going to do is we're going to test fit this, make sure that these sink in really well, because we want it to be kind of flush. so that way this doesn't pop up or anything like that. You can do this part or that part however you want. What I like doing is I took my X-Acto knife and I'm going to dig it out just a little bit more really fast, because you really and truly do not want these to like be popped out, you know. You want to get this part as flat as possible, so that way when you're, you know, walking around with your web shooters, you don't have to worry about breaking the seal. You don't have to worry about much in terms of malfunction, which is a thing you do gotta worry about. Now, you can paint before or after. I'm gonna paint all these tomorrow, and painting is just gonna be Plastidip with or Flex Seal mixed or Flex Sealed and then painted with what's it called afterwards? Just say silver paint. So what we're gonna do is we're taking our hot glue or our super glue. I'm just dabbing some into the UVA, just enough that that and the magnets will stick to each other. And the reason you have the brush is you don't want to just do this with your main actual hand. Unless you're smart, unlike me, put nylon gloves on, which nah. Alright, I'll do it. Nylon gloves are amazing. And ignore that. And so we do that with each individual magnet. I don't know. And you just smush it in with each one more and more, because we do want this as flush as possible. And since we're messing with EVA foam, yes, it is very durable, very pliable. It's not as much as I would always like. And quickly pull the nylon away. And then final one. There are better ways of doing this than how I am, but this is just the way I want to. Then we wait for the super glue to actually dry on these. But what you should end up with is something like this. And that way, when we do hit this with a heat gun, the magnets will heat up a little bit, but not too bad, because now it'll have a nice contour shape. And I didn't mark what side goes on what because it doesn't really matter. But notice how on this one there's also a line going up. Make sure you mark what side you want facing upwards. And then we're just going to, and how I know where I want to mark is I'm taking the end of my X-Acto knife, take the end of this, and it's almost the exact same width as these. I mark exactly where I want by pressing down right onto it. Just like that. So that way you get 4 identical spots. Just be careful not to cut yourself. It does take a little bit of pressure. So that way you get 4 spots that all are fine. And then what you do is take your X-Acto. I recommend using the exact same X-Acto for one reason. Because then it's sharper, you don't have to worry about actually making fully big cuts. And what I do is I turn the actual piece I'm working on, and then I turn or twist the knife as I go, and get nice little cuts out of it. But also cut up. So if you notice when I'm doing this, I'm going up because I'm trying to rip the EVA foam straight out. So I want this as flush as possible without going through like I just did. Something that you can also do if you don't want to work too much is cut a V through that centerpiece like that, and then just kind of dig. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Slightly more than what we need out. Just completely deform it. And then boom, now we have the second one, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. Now, if you want to properly mark what one is what, you can do it this way now, where it's all south or all north. Yeah, so once we get these all in, off my fingers. Oop. So that is why you don't want it going through, because the glue went through and it just started sticking. But so now we're gonna let that one dry. Let's check this one. Yep, it's dry. So now that we have that, let's grab our gauntlet or our thing. And before you even start, measure where it's gonna go. So I already measured and marked exactly where these edges go. So then what you want to do is take this and like there's different ways to do this, you know, because the way it's gonna sit on in the end will be a lot more, it's gonna look bulky, but that's what I want kind of that little extra bulk up top. And you might be wondering, well, how am I gonna get flush like this? Simple. What we're gonna do is after we apply the magnets to this one and we heat it up and all that, what we're going to do is we're going to sand down very smoothly right here, and we're going to do a little bit extra detailing to make it look like this part comes off purposefully to get to the web cartridge. And how we're going to do that is, since we have this disposable brush now, I'm going to find a spot, probably like right on the bristle bit that like right come on, focus on the brush. Pretty much this part of the brush, the bullshit part. Now, since these aren't even, they'll be kind of made to each one, and this is a failed piece. So what we are gonna end up doing here is we can have a little bit of edge if we want, you know, we can't afford that, but I don't want to. So what I'm doing is this one will be more tailored to this. Finding where the magnet goes. I'll mark it. Place. Find out where the magnet goes and mark it. So I'm just stabbing the holes in now because this part where it goes ain't gonna be too visible, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I got to put this exactly right. Okay. Find out where the magnet goes and mark. And mark. Okay. So now that we have all the magnet holes marked, okay. So with the magnet holes, I'm now going to rip this off. And what we're going to do is, since I'm not using a soldering iron for this whole project, we're just using everything else. A soldering iron would make this a lot easier, but I don't have mine with me. And not a lot of people like messing with them. I'm one of them. Because a soldering iron is very fun. It's a lot helpful. Or it's very helpful with cosplay. But one is a bitch. I hate it. Using it because risk of burns, risk of so much. And you can also achieve this with buttons instead if you don't want to mess with magnets. That is something too. I just recommend using slightly thicker foam. Because I don't have the name of this foam anymore or a tool to measure it. But it is just standard ass EVA foam. You can get from any hobby shop, well, almost any hobby shop, as long as they, you know, carry a cosplay section, they'll have this. Yeah, make sure your holes are nice and like defined for your magnets and or buttons. Make sure they're going to be either, they can be bigger, you know, they don't have to be the exact same size of these magnets or buttons. They can be slightly bigger. In fact, I'd rather make them bigger because that means less margin for error. Because they stick up. I mean, it will be noticeable if one side of these sticks up higher than the others. And plus then, the way we're gluing these ones is slightly better. So, and the way we're gluing these ones is we're going to put the glue on the bottom of the magnets and place them in the holes versus make the hole, put glue in it, and then fill the hole with the magnet. Because these need to line up perfectly. They need to. And you're still probably going, well, why don't you know, save this part for last? Do the heat gun because I want it all to conform together. If it's not just conforming, then, or if it doesn't go together, then it'll stick out like a sore thumb. Here, use that. So now that I have all those, now we need to get all six, or all four of these put on to my north magnets. And what's going to be nice too is once we get the magnets actually put on and we don't have to worry about the glue. Okay, so now take all of your backers off. You're going to want to put this on. You will want to, mainly because, yeah, you might want to have something on, unlike me. I'm just putting the straps on, not Just make sure you're gonna put it on as you normally would, not just while gluing. Not just for like a test or anything. Always put it on as you want the final product to be. And there. So now what we do is we're going to take super glue. This is the exciting part. I'm really excited for this. You just need a little bit for these. Just enough so that they hold. Yeah. Fill each hole. Get those in natively. Let me hold down for a moment. Okay. And boom. So we do have a little bit of a lifting. That's fine. We don't have the best connection right there. That's fine. All this will be fixed once we, hit it with some heat. Peel my magnets off. Since I have these now actually in, I'm going to peel it off and just slightly smush them in by hand. Get them in a little bit better. There we go. See? Whip. And then also, if you decide not to go with this, and this is why I wanted to wait too, because that side just wants to flop. But now we get to the fun part. So pop it off. And you can do this part now. You don't have to. Part of me is going to do it now. And God, this video is going to be such a bitch to edit. So, what we need to do is we take our heat gun, we plug it in. Never keep your heat gun just plugged in either. Always unplug it after you use it. And the reason why is safety. Welcome back. So, what we're going to do is we're going to first heat this up, then we're going to heat up the other part. I know I said I was going to do them together, but I want this part a little bit more. I just have this set to low heat, and the way I'm testing it first is I'm going to do it on my web shooter part. So that way too, making this part more conformed will be, they can be split, because watch. We'll do is start on one side. With long holes, we can now start hitting it together. Turn it off. Turn it off, take the longest amount of time to do. Done, be one. And just make sure the magnets are also lined up. Sure everything is lined up this time. Because once it starts actually setting, like the finalized position of it all, you can let something like that, and it's like, and then you're gonna let cool off a little bit before you peel it. Yeah. And just like how many web shooters, like that Peter Parker grenade, Now look, it is perfectly formed. It's not something you. That is beautiful. And I can make it smaller too, if I want to, so like, look at that. And then look. Look at that. And then take it off. Boom. Oh, now something I recommend doing if you have, or if you decide to make these, there's better ways. You can find any attachment point. I chose these to be mine because I just like it. And look at how nice that is. It's conformed. It looks good, in my opinion. I really like how this looks. Now, yes, this is not centered. That was a flub. But you know what? I can center it if I really, really want to. But maybe you will. These are just Mark 1s for me, you know? I just thought it'd be fun to show you guys how I'm making them. And then Now attaching these is even easier. Look. Have it lined up. And I can even get a slightly bigger dip in that if I want. Actually, I kind of like how that looks. So, but I want the original look that I had going on, so we're just gonna maneuver the Velcro. Just gonna play with this, you know, make sure it all lines up well, make sure, boom, right back at it. And it actually now is lined up because it's on my wrist. Now how am I gonna fix that, you're wondering? That's the fun part as well. So by the end of this, you're gonna have a lot of extra EVA foam. And that's like it. You'll have enough EVA foam, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that nozzle at the end, right? Then I'm going to make it so this web shooter crushes. Ain't that cool? And that's the happy accident about a lot of this, you know, you get so many cool designs, you get so much going on, that one thing I do want to do is I want to heat this up one more time. We're gonna just do it a little bit extra. Mainly around here. Turn it off really fast. There, and while it's like that, while it's still hot, something I'm gonna do is I'm gonna squinch that and pull that down more. Because I really want to solidify it that these are locked in. Wait for it to kind of cool down, wave your hand, and boom! Now it's actually locked on. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up L on this, on the inside. A couple scratch marks. And then what you want to do is take a screwdriver of some sort. And just slightly use it to engrave. And look. Now there's an L. And then I'll do the same this. Once I take it off, boom. Find a somewhat flat end. So I'll use that part. And the only reason you're using a screwdriver is to kind of give it a little bit more depth. And then when we spray paint it, it'll be more prominent. And then boom, L. And then what I can do is seal that. Attach magnets. And now it's good for paint. No, I won't put that there. And then we got, I guess, what we do to one side, you know what that means, we gotta do to the other. Where did I put that other web shooter? So now, we can do the same to this one. But I'm not gonna do the strap on these, because I don't need to anymore, you know, I mean, something I also recommend to help make it, or get used to wearing these, is just wear them as much as you can. I'm going to do this one the inverse, so we're going to heat it up, morph it, then cut. So that way, no, actually I'm going to stick the same way. Mainly because I know this method, or that one works, so it will stay in one cohesive shape. It will, but first things first, mark it. Mark that shit. Probably should have done this first. Right. There, and then take that. Follow those grooves. Give it a nice just a little more depth. So now you can see kind of the R in there. We take this, we make the R in here. Then we take that, do this. And boom, now we have another R. But that concludes my cosplay tutorial on making web shooters. Next we'll be painting, but it'll be very simple as a paint job. It's literally just Flex Seal or Plasti Dip. I'm gonna hit these all with a very fine sandpaper after I Plasti Dip them, which will give it a lot more uniform look. You can paint these however you want too. I'm going silver, I just want silver. I'm gonna do a red button, but yeah, this has been my review, or my walkthrough. Catch you on the next one.